Aloha mai kākou o Leialoha Ka'ula ko o inoa no Hawaiʻi mai au no Hilo. Mai au a kia mau la ke nohoni wau ma ole kona, ma aloha ole kona, a he kumu au ma'anei, he halau ma'anei ma Aloha Oregon, ma ka ʻaina o nā ʻalfalari poʻe. Mahalo no kia konona mai i hiki a kākou ki ka ʻana like i koka ko ʻike Hawaiʻi, koka ko aloha no Hawaii a me ka hula. So again, aloha, my name is Leialoha Ka'ula, originally from Hilo, Hawaii. I now live here in Aloha, Oregon. I have a hula studio, Kumu. We have been here now for 13, 14 years, 13, somewhere in that realm, about 2008, 2009. And we have a studio here on the land of the Arfalari people, and we mahalo them for allowing us to share our culture on their land. And my studio, our mission and really our focus is Hawaiian education and about Hawaii, the history of Hawaii, not just hula. I'm sure a lot of people have this misconception of hula based on what they see on TV, what the media has put out there. And so hula is so much more than what people see it to be. And so our goal and our mission as a halau, even from when I was younger growing up and what I was taught, is to really be able to embrace Hawaii for all of its culture, for all of its history. Even for our halau, many students who join our halau, they had no idea that Hawaii had kings and queens, and we had a monarch, and we had a lush culture and a nation and a people. And so definitely that's been something that we've been sharing. We do know that there are a lot of other hula schools here in the area, but for us, our focus truly is halau, and that mana'o that halau is in Hawaii. It's not just a school, it's family. It's where we feel comfortable, and it's really a pu'u honua, or like what is the English? A sanctuary. Yeah, a place that we can come to really ground us and remind us of who we are. And so mahalo for this opportunity to share about our halau. And I'm laughing because this quote behind me, I see Pochas Unite. And so when people watch this or they see this video, they're gonna be laughing about that. But this quote behind me on the wall represents all the things that we have done throughout our time. I don't know if I can turn it so you guys can see. Oh yeah, I can. Look at that. All of the different events and shows and programs we've been a part of, and we've been so fortunate to be able to be a part of here in Oregon. So again, yeah, mahalo for having us. Hamona keo kalani, ike makaya vaia, ke la vai kamahao, ika piko ke kuahivi. Hamona keo kalani, ike makaya vaia, ke la vai kamahao, ika piko ke kuahivi. Ika piko ke kuahivi, huli ho'i mai o kalani, ike alaka peke peke, uia e nei e malani, e uleu mai o kou, he iho na loa na ia, a hiki vai ne kea, huli ho'i mai o kalani, ike alaka peke peke, uia e nei e malani, e uleu mai o kou, he iho na loa na ia, a hiki wahine kea, a hiki wahine kea, haina mai ka puana, No e malani he inoa. Haina mai ka puana. No e malani he inoa. No e malani he inoa. Well, our first number that we shared with you folks is a traditional hula, a kahiko number. In Hawaiian culture, our the way that we would hear the stories or how we would pass the stories on, everything was very oral. It was through chants, it was through dance, it was through um, the different generations sharing it, passing it down. And so the first number we share with you is a traditional hula. And I am going to invite one of my olapa, Mima, to share with you the story of Mauna Kea Kalani.
Aloha mai ka ko o Mema ko inoa. Hajimemashite, watashi no namae wa Mema Gabi desu. Dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Hello, my name is Mema Garvey, and today we'll be sharing the kahiko of Mauna Kea Kalani, which takes place in the island of Moku O Keawe, also known as the Big Island. And we visit Mauna Kea, where Queen Amalani, she was on her journey during the Hawaiian monarchy election, and the people of Hawaii at the time didn't believe that a woman could rule their kingdom, that they didn't have the power to, and they didn't have the mana. And so throughout this journey, Queen Amalani, she visited Lake Waiau, where she proved her existence, where she immersed herself in the water to connect with her ancestors. And through this, she wanted to prove too that all people that Wahine has the same Wahine, which are women, have the same amount of mana.
Aloha mai kako o Sophia ko ino. Hi everyone, my name is Sophia, and dancing hula reminds me of everything I love about Hawaii. The culture, the music, the places, the food, and especially my family.
Aloha mai. My name is Haley, o Haley Ko'uinoa. I've been dancing for Kalehalia o Kalokalani since I was 7 years old, and it's created a family for me. I can't imagine where I would be without my hula sisters and brothers. They've just supported me through so much. Aloha mai kako, my name is Kina, and I've been dancing hula for 6 years since I was 4. And the one thing I love about hula is that it just gives me like extended family, or just like family. Like, I don't think of all of my hula sisters as like hula sisters. I think of them as sisters, and I feel like we all have a special relationship with each other that even if I didn't do hula anymore, couldn't break.
Aloha mai kako o koku koinoa. I love dancing hula because not only has it given me a family, it's given me many opportunities. It's one of my many connections to home, keeping that part of myself alive, learning more of my culture every day, and so on. And definitely my hula sisters. I wouldn't be here without them. Mahalo.
Aloha mai, o Chloe Ko'uinoa. My name is Chloe. Throughout the 10 years that I've been dancing hula, or almost 10 years that I've been dancing hula, I think that it has changed my mindset and the way that I look at the world. And that hula can tell lots of stories, not just historical stories, but like current stories about things going on in the world, or even about me and the way I express myself. And I think without hula, I don't know what I'd be doing with my life, and without my hula sisters, I think my life would not be as fulfilling as it is. Yeah, mahalo.
Aloha mai kako o Mema ko inoa. Aloha, my name is Mema, and I continue to dance hula because it's a privilege and obligation as a student in one's culture. And I feel that as we continue to dance hula, we're continuing to build the next generation into reminding themselves to continue their kuleanas.
For me, going beyond the hula lesson, especially here on the continent, away from home, when you're learning taking hula lessons, um, as a hula dancer, being a part of a halau, it's not lessons, it's a lifestyle. Hula is life. And we say that as olapa, as dancers, as students of hula, it is life. It's not just this hula lesson that you can just get. And a lot of that happens up here, with hula lessons. And so um today I wanted to give a little bit more beyond hula, right? For me, with my haumana, with my students, it's not about the hula. It's not just about this dance. It's about the history. It's about, what are you portraying? What are you telling? Whose story are you telling? And are you telling it with respect? Are you telling it with that pono? Are you doing it right? And so there's so much more. And so the hula lesson I wanted to provide is about cultural appropriation, and how hula has become something that people often just see, in media. It's a show. I know up here, I hear people call hula dancers showgirls. Definitely not showgirls. Um, these hula dancers carry pride. Um, we carry our kupuna, our ancestors, with us. These stories that we get to tell, the hula that we get to dance, it's a privilege. It is a privilege and an honor to be able to tell stories from hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years ago, from our creation stories, and to our, or to the simple stories of today, on how our people have reconnected with the aina, with the land at home. And so cultural appropriation is truly something that we strive to help here on the continent. We're just everywhere. And truly understand that Hawaiian people, we are a culture, we are people. Hula is a part of our culture. Hula is what carries our stories from our kupuna, from our ancestors who have gone, have passed away, and they are leaving that to us. And when we see people dress up and use it as a costume, that's the best hula lesson I can give you. Not to do that. Don't do that. Understand that hula has a story. Hula is not, we're not social media, we're not a cartoon, we're not any of those things. It is truly what honors our kupuna, our ancestors. And so that's the best hula lesson that I can give to anyone who would want to learn hula. And that's the first lesson I teach when I have new students join, is that there's a story, there's a meaning, and to understand that. Mahalo. As far as costumes, I can tell you what, hula is not a costume. Yeah. For us, in our world of halal, when we're preparing for a performance or for our showcase, you'll hear that word used pretty loosely. And just for myself, like going through this and knowing the road that we just kind of like decolonizing myself, I've had to also train myself to not call our regalia costumes, right? So hula is not a costume. What you see our dancers, our olapa, our students use when we're performing has meaning. It has a whole story. So for example, maybe I can, for Mauna Kea o Kalani, the kahiko that they've done, this song takes you to the island of Moku O Keawe, the island of Hawaii, the big island. And in our culture, the color red represents the island of Hawaii. The lehua blossom, the red lehua represents the island of Hawaii. And so when you think of a costume, you have to put that story together, which is why, again, like that's just me again, decolonizing myself and learning, just reteaching myself that it's not a costume. It's it's a reality. It's something that portrays the song. And so when Mema, when we had the opportunity to enter in Ho'ike, Hawaii, in Florida, the costume that accompanied that mele, or that regalia that accompanied that mele, we had her dressed in red, to honor that island. But she also was talking about Mauna Kea and Lake Waiau. And Mauna Kea is home to Poliahu, the goddess of the snow, and then of course her sister Waiau, Lake Waiau. And so we had white shimmering fabric that went over the red skirt to kind of portray that beauty of the snow and the white and the water, yeah, of Lake Waiau, sitting on this red and hiding, almost hiding that red. And you'd really have to understand, that meaning to that. And then she wore a lei hulu, yeah, a feather lei to represent Queen Emma, because our queens, our ali'i, would have that lehula, the lehulu, or that ahu'ula, to represent their royalty. And so all of that is a part of the mele. And when people just take that and wear it as a costume, to Halloween, or, over here, it's been pretty familiar for me to see, or it's very frequent to see schools say Hawaiian Day or Luau Day in their Spirit Week. And we see people coming to school with coconut bra shirts and wearing grass skirts. No, that's not how we do that. So no, hula is not a costume. Our culture is not a costume. And we really try to ask people to respect that. So what does it mean to be a kumu hula? And I'm gonna clarify a kumu hula, because I carry that title. It's an honor to have that as a kumu hula. And when you are a kumu hula, you have gone through many, 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 many years of training, and then you go through a uniki and you become a kumu hula. And so I want to clarify this, because I say this often, I say this many times. For me, I am a kumu of hula. Yeah. When this journey began and I spoke with my auntie to be able to bring hula here, because it was much needed. So many people asked to have a halau here. And just with the background and the knowledge and the opportunities that I had growing up to be able to learn from so many different kumus. I am also a graduate of Ke Kula O Nawahiokalani'opu'u, which is the Hawaiian immersion school in Hawaii. So I speak fluent Hawaiian. And during that time when I was going to school, Hawaiian language was very rare to find, right? We were still on that movement, on that revival of building our Hawaiian language up. Today, it's incredible. It's incredible to go to Hawaii and see the amount of people who speak Olelo Hawaii, who speak our language. And to be here on the continent and teaching our language is such a privilege. And so I just want to make that very clear. And I tell people very often, I am a kumu of hula. And, unfortunately, my auntie who had blessed our halau, she had passed. And conversations of becoming of a kumu hula happened in the early stages of our halau. And, I try to make sure that everything that I do is pono, that I ask permission. And whatever I don't know, I always reach out to learn. And I reach out to people who can teach. I cannot tell you the amount of kumu who have come through our halau to participate in workshops, the amount of kumu that we have, teachers from la'au lapa'au to weaving to leihulu to ahu'ula. I mean, the amount of workshops that we've been able, and the conversations that we've had with so many kumus that continue to remind me, like, you have a kuleana, you have a responsibility here to continue this halau, to continue to be a teacher. And whenever I'm in that place or that space where I wonder, like, is this enough? Am I enough for this kuleana? And I'm reminded very often that there's so much work to do here on the continent. We have so many of our people, our Kanaka Hawaii, or people who love Hawaii that live on the continent. A lot of us move away just because a lot of times we can't afford to be home, but we still have to be grounded. We still have to be reminded where we're from. And so for me, to be a kumu here is such an honor and a privilege to share everything that was taught to me, because like I say to my haumana, what was taught to me is a privilege. It's not I don't own it. And I will teach the best that I can. And I will continue to ask my kumus for permission. And what I don't know, I will continue to ask and hope that our kumus, our kupuna continue to come to our halau to share. And so just when you're hearing the word kumhula, and over here on this continent, I'm gonna tell you that word is thrown around a lot. Not everybody is a kumuhula. So it is an honor, and it is a privilege to make sure that you are, you're doing it right. It's a kuleana, it's a responsibility. So it's not just something you just do, it's something you live. Yes, so for language preservation, for me, being a graduate of Navahi, it was a privilege to be a part of that movement and that revival of Hawaiian language. Again, it was a privilege, definitely. My grandma, she is a native of Ni'ihau. She spoke the language of Ni'ihau, and her dream was always for her grandchildren to speak Hawaiian. Unfortunately, I didn't start speaking Hawaiian until after she passed away. And I carry our language in honor of her. So the reason why, to be able to speak my grandma's native tongue, in a time when her mother was forbidden to speak Hawaiian, and to carry that, I mean, that is the reason why I teach Hawaiian. The language doesn't belong to me, it doesn't belong to just me. And here on the continent, the reason why I teach Hawaiian is because so many other languages it's so normal here. It's so normal to just be able to learn a language or to hear it. And, just within the last year, I cannot even tell you how many conversations I had with people who didn't know we had a native language, that Hawaiian was an actual language. And so my kuleana, and the reason why I teach, is to normalize that, so that when people hear Hawaiian language, it's not just aloha or mahalo or whatever you just hear that's made up in media, that you truly understand that our language is so beautiful, and the songs that you hear is made up of our language. And to be here on the continent, to teach that, to hear our language being spoken outside of Hawaii is also another beautiful thing. And so truly the work that I'm doing to teach our language here is to be able to walk in other areas and know that Hawaiian language also exists here. Again, we have so many people who live on the continent, and I believe that even though they cannot speak Hawaiian, there's a little bit in them that want to learn. And so we want to make sure that we have that opportunity to teach them. There are a lot of Native Hawaiians here in Oregon. I have to say straight across the continent, right? So it's not just in Oregon. You see Hawaiians everywhere. And our Native community here, it's always funny. We always laugh how small our islands are. And when you move away, you still find that. It's still the same conversation you hear. But one of the things that we miss in our community here at home, our Hawaiian people are so engaged, right? They're so engaged in the movements, in the revival, in our aloha aina, in mauna awakea. You see them rebuilding our fish ponds, our taro patches. You see that happening in Hawaii. And up here, I feel like our Native Hawaiians, we disconnect from that. We feel like, oh, because we're not in Hawaii, we don't have to do that, or there's not, that doesn't exist here. But the reality is it does. Yeah. In the 1700s, our king Kanaka Hawaii brought Native Hawaiians to these lands to partner up with the Native Americans. There was a relationship. Hawaiians have been here for so many years. We have learned from Native Americans. Native Americans have learned from Kanaka Hawaii. And so there's been a relationship here. And I think for Native Hawaiians here, we feel like, oh, it's so disconnected, but we're not. We can also connect to the land. And the other part of that is we got to think about our keiki, the next generation. And for my kids, do we want to hope that we can move home? Do we hope that we can one day return to Hawaii? I would think that that's every Native Hawaiian's dream, is to return home, to return where we're from. But the reality is we're here now. And what can we give our kids? We don't want them to be disconnected. We want them to be able to feel like they're still Hawaiian. No matter where they're living, no matter where they are Hawaiian. And wherever they go, they can be rooted in that same way of being at home. And so one of the beautiful things that have come from this work that we've been doing up here is Oregon has now, we've created the Hawaiian Civic Club here. Hawaiian Civic Club is a national organization. It was founded by Prince Jonah Kuhio over 100 years ago. And that was truly his mission as well, was to give Hawaiians their ability to use their voices, to use their knowledge beyond just what we know, right? To be able to give our people this ability to be in Congress, to know that we can make decisions, that we can be a part of those decisions. And so our civic club we started in 2019, and COVID happened, and it felt like, we weren't really going to get momentum going. And all of a sudden, Kalo has really grown into something pretty amazing for the community. It's really built this, it's helped Native Hawaiians be seen in not just in our community, but within our government. And that's really important because, again, if you don't know the history of Hawaii and the overthrow about Hawaii and how our nation was taken from us, please go ahead and learn about that. That's also important to know. But also understand that we're here and we can be a part of those decisions. And so through the Civic Club, through that efforts, we want to be able to uplift our Native Hawaiian people and really make sure that our government recognizes that not only are we from Hawaii, we're also indigenous to the very lands that the United States has taken. And so we too have a place and a say in how the land gets returned, how the land gets used. And we want to be able to uplift the voices and be a part of that. And so in the beginning of COVID, for me, as far as the knowledge of how it impacted the Native Hawaiian community, I did not know a lot about it. Fortunately, Kala was able to partner with organizations like Utopia PDX and OPIC, who then connected us with this, with the Oregon Health Authority. And we were able to see the disparities within our communities and learning that our Pacific Islander people we were the hardest impacted community. COVID was taking over our people. Our people were dying. They were not getting the resource needed because on a larger scale, we are a part of AAPI. NHPI is this new term, right? But we are part of AAPI, and our Pacific Islanders have, for so long, we've been erased. We've been forgotten. We've been lost in data. We've been lost in this data research. And so through COVID, through the work for COVID and Pacific Islanders really rising and coming together, we were able to look at the disparities and make our government and our state recognize that we don't have any resources. Our people are dying because we don't have any support. And Oregon Health Authority really provided help. I can't say it's enough, right? It's not enough, but it was enough for them to realize that there's a disparity within our community and that they need to recognize that. They need to make the conscious effort to be able to put Pacific Islanders in their own group and stop erasing the data, stop erasing our community so that they too can get the help and the resources that are needed. So this next mele that we're going to share with you is entitled Kaniaka Pupu, written by Kalani Pe'a and Kalehua Simeona. And I'm just going to really read what the composer writes because I can't say it any better. But we wanted to share this mele to really bring into perspective the current time. And so the composer writes, imagine sitting deep in the forest of Luakaha on the island of Oahu, kissed by the Ki'ovao rain in Nu'uanu Valley, and hearing the wind whistle through the shells that kahuli snails once called home. This is Kaniaka Pupu, the summer home of Kauikeauli, Kamehameha III, and his wife Kalama. Kumu Hokulani Holt Padilla took Kalani on a field trip there one summer in Napua No'eau, and he calls upon those memories with this composer, Kalehua Simeona, in this mele. The kahuli reminds us poetically of the transformative change, huli, during the time of Kauikeauli, and the huli we are experiencing today. So again, mahalo for having us. My name is Leialoha Ka'ula, and our halau kalei hali'a o ka lokelani We're here, right here in Aloha, Oregon, and we want to mahalo you folks for allowing us to share our love for Hawaii.
E ke kahuli e hulia e la I kou hone me ke anua nua kahi kanina he mai ka pupu aloha ka kubina I ke kania Lua ole ke kahani ma ke ki o wao Waulani no ke ali'i O ka lama puhi e hie Ke ali'i nui Paai ke ea I mau ke E mui mui a na manu o ka pulu pe mai ka ua na ahihi e ho hihi manu ke kahani o ke kahuli kaui ke oli Ka